Welcome, everybody. This is the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley. Every week we try to bring you stories of people who are making a difference in the world through innovation, through entrepreneurship, through education, through creative approaches for all three of these things to the world of service. And this week we are happy to have another Canadian presenting with us. Matter of fact, I am in a serious minority at the moment as one of only four non-Canadian. Let's see, there's four of us in the group, only one non-Canadian. But I want to pass along, before I introduce our speaker, Mark Chatel, to you, I want to pass the formal introduction on to our member who just got back from Sri Lanka and all the good he was doing there, Francois Tessier, or I should say Dr. Francois Tessier. So, Francois?
Hello, Rushton. Hello, everyone. Yes, of course, I just came back from Sri Lanka and I'm still jet lagged. Today, I would like to introduce you Mark Chatel. Mark Chatel is a television producer in Canada, actually in Ottawa. I'm in Montreal, and I worked for Mark for several years. And Mark is having a very special vision on education that he would like to share with us today. So, without any other introduction, I would let you, Mark, introduce yourself and your presentation.
Well, thank you very much, Francois, and thank you very much, Rushton. So I'm very happy to be here today because I truly believe that education can be transformed in a way that will allow each child around the world to gradually discover his or her mission in life. And it's been a long process in the making for me to think about these important issues, because it's been 20 years actually. Then I got the first moment that I had this epiphany where I realized that I would be spending the rest of my life trying to figure out how do we introduce life to kids in a way that they're really going to be enthusiastic and passionate about, and really understand that they have a contribution to make in this world. And I think that this vision has been honed over the years by several important meetings and encounters that I've had with several people, and I'm going to share that with you today. And basically what that means in terms of transforming the current existing education system for the better, and to allow each child basically to really become who he or she is in life. So it all started when I did a documentary about 15 years ago about Olympic champions, and the documentary was called The Champion Zone. And it was about 15 Olympic champions, just like Kathy Freeman we see right now, and she's the one who, well, she talks about the moment she was in the zone when she won the Olympic gold medal, and all 15 athletes from 5 continents told me this amazing moment where they really felt perfectly in connection, their spirit, their minds, their body, and they felt incredibly well. And this made me think that we all have this moment in life where we could feel that being in the zone. And it's another way to say, you know, finding your own element. Or just like when I met the author Paulo Coelho, the author of The Alchemist. Well, you know, he talks about the personal legend that we all have. And as a kid, we know what that personal legend is, but we tend to forget it. And our role after that is try to see the signs that life sends us, people on our path, to bring us back to basically that personal legend. And he only started writing when he was 38 years old, because before that he didn't have the courage, and his parents were not encouraging him doing that. And you know, today he's one of the top 5 writers of all time, with 360 million, I think, books sold around the world. And this is a very, very powerful book that I read. But meeting with him south of France was certainly an amazing encounter. And quite interestingly, the day before I was on the plane reading one of his books, The Fifth Element, and all of a sudden a man came and sat right beside me, and there were only 10 people on the flight, and it was Paulo Coelho, and we started the conversation on the plane. So that was a key moment for me. Then I had a chance to produce a series called Crossroads, and interview hundreds of people from all walks of life, just like this young man who got in a car accident and lost his arm. And what was fascinating was all these people, like hundreds of people that I interviewed, all told me that they were on the wrong path in life. It took a very, very big turning point to change the path and finally become who they were. And then they became really altruistic, happier people, and really in line, in connection with their true essence or their personal legend or being in the zone in life. And I think that's the crucial moment for me, because it was really a field research where I had the chance to get a better sense of how life works. You know, it's a mystery, but if we can help kids, again, crack their own code and early on in their lives be excited about what they can possibly do with their lives, well, we'll have a completely different society. We know 80% of adults right now are unhappy with their jobs. That's an amazing loss of talent and potential. So the idea is to reverse those statistics, and by finding the right way to do it in the classroom. So then my journey went on, and I had the chance to meet this wonderful person, Stephanie Pace Marshall. She's a doctor in education from Chicago, and she wrote a book called The Power to Transform, which talks about the urgent need to overhaul the education system in the US. But the same can be said about education systems around the world. And Stephanie Pace Marshall, I met her in Kenya, and let's listen just a moment what she says.
Mark, that's not coming through, so you know.
Okay. So anyways, what she's saying is that because she discovered that I was developing a platform on the internet to help kids connect with who they are, and it was an answer basically to her book, The Power to Transform, and we met in Kenya while doing a safari, so that was quite an amazing encounter with her, and now she's on the advisory board of this platform we're currently developing. Then we had a first big project with our platform where we allowed children to experience, well, 2 climbers going on Mount Everest, and this told me about the power of the visuals and the power of really inspiring kids through audiovisual content. In this case, the students were allowed to do a Skype conversation with these 2 climbers while they were, you know, going up the mountain for 35 days in a row. And we see them now on the screen. And the children really were so amazed. It connected them to real life. They learned about real emotions. And again, a sense that you go to school, you need that connection with real life. Otherwise, it's a bit abstract. You know, a lot of students saying, I don't know why I'm learning this math or this science or this literacy, you know, when it's connected to real life. And in this case, they developed a project all together where they had to put out a play. They raised some money with a play. They performed in front of audiences, and then they helped build a well in a school in Nepal. So this gave me the idea that this is amazing. This is real life, and real adventurers and kids through technology in the classroom can really, it transform the vision that they have of the school itself. And the school can become a place gradually where when kids know they'll be there going to school to discover who they are instead of just learning curriculum. And so after all these great encounters, I decided that this had to be the way to transform the classroom experience and to get into these entrepreneurial social projects on a regular basis over the course of 5 years. So our vision is that between the ages of 9 and 14 is a critical age before kids get into real, you know, severe or intense, you know, adolescence where they kind of lose their focus sometimes. When Paulo Coelho said, you know, we know what their personal legend is at an early stage. Well, here we decided this would become the way to really bring about this great idea of social entrepreneurship. Twice a year they do projects of their own. Initially in grade 4, you know, they work on a class project, but then as they grow up, they move into partnerships, like 2 people working on the same project, and then grade 6 and on up to grade 9, they start working on their own individual projects. So after 5 years, they'll have worked on 10 individual projects, and they'll get a much better sense of who they are, how they can be relevant, be excited about the talents that they have, making other people happy with their own talents, and getting a sense of a vision, developing this vision for their own lives. And this is such a powerful thing. This is the way to introduce kids, I believe, to life, and it'll transform their perception of schools. We're starting to see through research chairs that are studying the impact of this pedagogical approach, that there's less dropout rate, there's a decrease in the dropout rate, there's less bullying in the class, kids develop their citizenship, their communication, collaboration, creativity. We're bringing back creativity as a fresh air in the classroom, and just like Sir Ken Robinson says, the expert in education, creativity is as important as literacy. So in a nutshell, this has been my journey so far, and this is all about the platform that I developed, and it's called Wig Up, and Wig Up means While I Grow Up, and it's a creative social network for schools. So we inspire kids with 1,000 of short documentaries, very inspiring, and then they take action, and they have the publishing tools to really show what they're capable of, and we're starting to see marvelous things happening in the classroom.
Excellent, Mark. I love the idea. And when I look at this, I'm thinking about a number of things that are really kind of current in education today. We talk about the research of Carol Dweck at Stanford, who talks about the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. That difference between I'm no good at math and if somebody explained this to me differently, I could get it. That whole sense that one is capable. And when I think about this, there's something I'd like you to speak to. There's a lot of discussion of passion. What is a student passionate about? What is that student ready to show that he or she can do? But identifying a passion is in some ways a little like asking what's your favorite whatever, right? Which is different than developing an interest. So if a student is excited about something, it's not supposed to be their passion, but it's just something. And the idea is you're going to develop a set of skills around this something. Is that kind of in line with what a student would experience when they're working in the platform?
Well, that's why the formula that we use is inspiration plus creativity equals self-discovery. So first we want to inspire them through all sorts of amazing stories that we produce ourselves or that we license from other freelancers around the world who approach us with their content, their expeditions, their entrepreneurial projects, their art, their and then we think that a young student will at some point connect with one of those stories and think, oh, I like that, I'm interested in this. And then they'll have a chance to do a first entrepreneurial creative project where they might just an introduction to something, as you say, an interest. But then the second project they'll be doing, they can delve a bit deeper into that, and the third one, and the fourth one. And imagine, like a hockey stick, after 10 projects, you can really get a sense of, gee, I'm really good at this, and I really love the way I feel about it. And then it becomes a passion. Mm-hmm. So, it starts from a simple interest, and it can. I remember the first day someone approached me to do radio, and I said, really? And so it became an interest, but then it became a passion and a career. And today I'm a TV producer, and I could have not have said 30 years ago, I'm going to develop a platform one day to help children discover their mission in life. But I knew I was creative, I knew I had a sense of justice, I knew I loved communication, audiovisual, and I think the secret is to blend all these interests that you have to make your special recipe. And you can create your own job, and if you help others, then it becomes a mission.
Absolutely. I want to let those who are watching this recording kind of know our kind of full group here. My name is Rushton. I am the president of the eClub of Silicon Valley. The person who introduced Mark is Francois in Montreal, and we also have with us Chris Cochran. Chris is a member of our board, one of the founding members of the eClub of Silicon Valley, and who is in Ontario, in Brockville, I believe. And so I want to be able to pass along to Francois and to Chris the chance to kind of add their comments to and questions to what's going on as well. So Francois?
Yeah, I could add many comments because I'm very close to this project since I'm working on it for many years. But I would like to ask you, Mark, something. What did you discover along the way of of doing this project and of the way that the students are using it? What new appeared to you that you wouldn't imagine before we did it?
Well, I think what's really interesting is what I heard from teachers is that sometimes kids they're in their corner, they're struggling with school, they don't really, and all of a sudden they start flourishing because they're allowed to express themselves through creativity, and creativity is such a powerful, it's a powerful tool, and they have it in abundance at that age especially. So I think the miracle happens when you allow this creativity and making those connections, those funny connections. You can use those Olympic athletes and all of a sudden make connections with mathematics and calculating at what speed that runner is running. You make math out of a concrete, real story like that. And so, but to see each individual in the classroom all of a sudden getting a chance to show what they're capable of, and just the fact that there's less bullying that they noticed in the classroom, that's amazing, because they're starting to respect the others for what they are and what they're capable of. So that was a wonderful, for me, unexpected discovery.
Very cool. And Chris, I want to invite you in, and also Chris, I believe Liz is with you as well. So join in.
Well, I have just one question, and I think you basically answered it, but maybe you didn't. How do you measure success? Is there a formula? Is there an ultimate goal?
Well, it's a good question, but for me, a success is if the children show their projects and just what they're capable of, and raising some money or spending some time doing a project of their own through their talents and creativity, and all of a sudden it creates something useful. Then it's a good use of creativity. It brings a solution. For me, that's the success. You don't even need to give grades, or just the fact that they're going to document their project and publish it and then show it to others. It's going to inspire others. It's all in the invisible. It's our motto is revealing the invisible. So I think it's beautiful. That's the measure of success, and it's the pride in the eyes of the children.
Thank you.
Cool. Now, when we think about revealing the invisible, you put it at one point. You said help kids crack their own code, which I thought was a really cool quote. One of the things for a kid to really make that kind of leap forward is to encounter and rise above what is typically called failure, right? So this is another one of those themes in education right now is the theme of grit. What allows a kid to learn to persevere? What is it that a kid can experience such that he says, I can't do this, and somehow rises above it? She looks at her work and says, this is not what I expected, and she figures a way to kind of come out of it. I'm curious how that might be built into the system, since in some ways, at least in the United States, and I would, from my experiences in Canada, I don't think it's so different. A lot of parents are actually working in counterproductively in that regard. They're trying to keep their kids from failure ever, right? And so they don't encounter failure, so that when they do hit it, at some point later, it kind of derails kind of their possibilities. Is the idea of encountering and rising above failure, learning from failure, moving forward, built into your system in some way?
Well, the teacher can play a role as a coach, almost raising the bar, so that if the child or the student is not aiming high enough, he can or she can raise that bar, and that will create a situation where they might experience some kind of failure, because it's not easy, and also the fact that these projects take 3 months to do. It's not just overnight, bang, it's done. And over the course of 3 months, a lot of things can go wrong, and you learn from those things. So reaching out to the people in the community, getting some help from others, dealing with a teammate, presenting, convincing, raising money. And there are all sorts of moments in that project where you're going to experience maybe some kind of failure. But the idea at the end of this project is to experience some kind of success as well. So you don't want to build in something where they're going to fail, but just the fact that these projects are made over a longer period of time. 3 months is really a long period of time for a young person, and they'll have a lot of challenges along the way. So I'm confident that they will be learning a lot, and already we see it. And again, it's a first project and then a second one, and that's beautiful because the first project they'll make mistakes, and some have not reached their objectives. But then the second one, they're already looking forward to it to make something different. And the third project, imagine the learning curve, it's incredible. So that's why the research chairs, it will be fascinating because they just started, but over the course of the next 5 years, they're going to study the impact of a child, 9-year-old child, up to 14 years of age, and how 10 projects later, with all these amazing contents that he or she will be viewing on WigUp, how does that transform your life? And I believe it's going to be very, very powerful. And even superintendents from 5 different states in the U.S. have looked at WigUp and said, this is a very powerful platform. In what it can achieve, it's very powerful. And we like to think of ourselves a bit like the Cirque du Soleil of education.
That's pretty cool. Now when I think about this, I mean, because this is in order for this to work, obviously it has to be a commercial effort, and so there's a buy-in of schools, perhaps individuals can buy in as well. But when I think about it being part of a longer-term component of an educational environment, I'm necessarily thinking about how teachers are trained to make things happen with it. Is that also built into your system, where teachers have the chance to discover how they can make these different stories that the kids encounter a portion of what they're doing, whether it's in writing or in their math course or anything along those lines? Is that built into it as well?
Yes, because we have a professional learning community within WigUp, so they can share. It's a celebration of children's creativity, but also teachers' creativity, and that's when you bring back creativity in the classroom, because as Sir Ken Robinson says, schools are killing children's creativity. But so I believe that, yeah, if you bring back that creativity for teachers as well, and then they start sharing their good stories about, hey, I used this video, this documentary, and I made a connection to the curriculum. Look at how original it is, and in grade 8 or 6 or whatever, and this is what I experienced with my students. So that's the way, the longer term, you use WigUp as a powerful tool, and you integrate all that you need to teach through your curriculum through a platform like this, and you can use all of the contents to make those creative, again, related to the real life. And that's when you stop learning only in silos, and you make those connections, and kids will love, and they love it already, because they see the purpose of why they're studying this and that. And again, at the tip of the pyramid, in my opinion, instead of having the curriculum, and that's a bold idea, it's the self-discovery that's the most important cornerstone. You want students to finish their high school having a much better understanding, knowledge of who they are and what they can achieve. I know some school boards or school districts, you would call in the States, where they have a press conference when they finish their high school, and they're going to announce publicly to the rest of the world who they are and how they're going to serve their society. If we want to triumph together, and that's a great term I heard at the Clinton Global Initiative, of which I'm a member, if we want to triumph together, you need everyone to really discover that skill, that talent, that unique talent. Deepak Chopra says, it's the ability to find your unique talent to serve others. That's how you find true happiness. So that's where we're heading. I know we're sometimes ahead of our time in some areas of the world. It's not easy. There are a lot of barriers. But I'm devoted to this. It's been 20 years. Can you imagine every day thinking about this? 20 years. My wife goes nuts. But This is when I had my epiphany 20 years ago, I knew that day, I had this vision, I would do this for the rest of my life, and I was so enthusiastic because I knew I had connected with my, they say the Russian dolls, and the smallest of the Russian dolls is who you are. When you say cracking your own code, is finding that smallest Russian doll, the unbreakable one. And then there are all these layers, there's masks or whatever you call them, but you need to, and kids, of course, don't have that many layers at that age, So it's so essential to protect that smallest doll, and as they grow up, they won't lose that, just like Paulo Coelho said.
Very cool. Now, Chris or Francois, and anything to add?
Well, yes. Actually, I would like to hear about concrete experience of teachers. I know some of the teachers that are using the platform, but I would like to hear about that, Mark. What discovery they have made, and give us a good story about one of the teachers that that is a very good partner of us in this project.
Well, when we started to do the entrepreneurial project in the area of Toronto, you know, they introduced that idea to kids. They were in grade 5, grade 6, and the kids were, well, first of all, they were really excited about all of a sudden this is a complete change in their classroom. What? I'm giving the chance to invent something and to bring forth my talents, and it was incredible to see the wide array of projects. Some kids, you know, they gathered like 500 books and they sent them to Africa. Some others did some sports events where they were coaching the younger ones, so spending more of a time with the younger ones. It was not about money in this case. Some others, you know, just told jokes and got money from their own creativity, and then supported a cause in the local. What I think is great is when in grade 4th to grade 6th, for instance, they support local causes. So they have the contact with the people near them, and they see the expression of people being thankful, and they can see that in their eyes. As they grow older, they can start supporting more national or international causes. So again, we're always refining this, but already I think we're having an amazing demonstration of, and the teachers say it's a complete change. There's a lot of motivation in the classroom. The kids come prepared. They work on their projects over the weekend. They call friends, you know. All of a sudden they come out of the shadow. They're more, you know, they believe in themselves. So the self-confidence is certainly a big issue here. So I'm always amazed to see what ideas they come up with, and the fact that we're like a creative social network. There's a community component to it, so kids can see what others have done, but then they bring their own. And the idea is really to bring your uniqueness, so your unique touch, and not just copy what others have done. And because they're given this opportunity, it really transforms their school experience.
Very cool stuff. So we're going to wind things down. Mark, before we finish, if there's kind of a last comment that you want to be able to put out there, we'll ask you to do that. To all of our members and guests who have been watching this program, this recording, we want to let you know that you're not quite done yet with the meeting, right? So after the video finishes, we want you to do two things for us. First, as you go down a little bit, you will see a survey, the attendance survey. And the attendance survey is built to let us know who's here, but also to allow Rotarians who are visiting to generate an email from us that they can pass along to their club secretary, so that they can get a makeup meeting covered that way as well. So we hope you will do that. And then a little farther down, there is our comments area. It's very important to us that people leave comments, that they say, this is what struck me about this. This was the thought that happened for me. Even if no one ever read them, that would be an opportunity to really kind of gather your own thoughts about what you've just experienced. However, people do read them, and what we want is to have that chance to actually engage in a little dialogue, and have people kind of share ideas back and forth. Just to read what other people have written allows us to get to know each other better. So that's very important to us. So please do both things. Do the survey, and then also to leave a comment at the bottom. We will look forward to seeing you next week as we bring another story of innovation, education, and entrepreneurship to you. And to finish us off today, I'd like to hand it back to Mark and thank you for the time that you have given us as a part of this program.
Well, thank you, Rushton. It was such an amazing experience for me, because I have never done really the exercise to really review the past 20 years of my life and think about all these events. And really, I think that the education system needs this this transformation, this major transformation, where we're going to allow and bring back creativity in the classroom and allow children to really connect with who they are. And self-discovery is the most important thing kids should have the chance to experience. They spend so much time at school. Let's make it a worthwhile experience. The education system has been there for more than 100 years now, and we know it's broken. And this is, I believe, the way to do it. Thank you so much.
Cool stuff. Thank you, everyone, for taking part, and we will look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.
Bye-bye.